Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I'll get right to it. As many of you know, I'm the daughter of immigrants. When I was growing up, one of the mantras that my father repeated to my siblings and me was that you have to be 3 times as good as your white counterparts in order to receive half as much recognition or success. Essentially, my father acknowledged that the playing field was not level for people of color, that there were structural barriers to our success that were unfair. Back then, my father didn't have the term structural racism or institutional bias at his disposal. Now, this is a well-studied phenomenon. When I started this run for New York's 136th congressional district, assembly district, Freudian slip, I knew it would be difficult. We were entering the race belatedly. We had a lot of administrative hurdles to overcome. Our supporters were just coming off a hard-fought race in which they'd been asked to give their all, and they did. To use the analogy of a close friend, our supply lines were stretched to the extreme. But we knew that our cause is just and that our movement remained strong. We also knew that we could win. Through the 10 days remaining in the petitioning process after we entered the race, we proved that our movement is more than just a flash in the pan. The establishment doubted that we would even be able to obtain enough signatures to get on the ballot. But we worked 3 times as hard as the other campaigns, and we submitted almost double the required amount of signatures as was required. That, in short, is the theme for our movement. First, we're marginalized and ridiculed. Then we're underestimated. Then we prove that we're more than up to the task. Now, we're at a point where we have become a threat. And wherever there is a threat to white supremacy, there is a backlash. Our campaign is not about a single candidate or a single issue. This movement has always been about the people for whom this movement began. The people for whom the playing field is not level. The people who have to work 3 times as hard. I've been an activist most of my adult life. I was first inspired to civic involvement as a teenager because I wanted to change the world for the better. After suffering from the harm inflicted upon me, my family, and other people close to me who were marginalized in our country because of their race, their gender identity, sexual orientation, ethnic origins, or the religion they practiced, I wanted to make sure no one ever felt the pain that I felt. The shame and humiliation I was made to feel for no other reason that I was black and female and had parents with a funny accent. A dear friend of mine reminded me recently that black women are accustomed to fighting for everything they have. We have been fighting since time immemorial for our dignity, for our families, for a fair shake, for our very survival. I think that's why activism comes so naturally to me and to other black women. Sometimes, however, we get caught up in the fight. We focus on our platforms, on our opponents, on winning the next race, and then the next. And we think about what everyone else needs, what everyone else wants, what is best for everyone else. And somewhere along the way, we can lose sight of who we are and what we're fighting for when we were first wanting to go into public service. Like Dorothy on her journey into the wizard, we forget why we were even trying to get to Oz in the first place. At the last Brighton Town Board meeting, a young woman reminded me who I was when I first got involved in public service and why. She reminded me in the same way Dorothy was reminded that when you're looking for your heart's desire, you need look no further than your own backyard. It is often the young people, and usually young women, Ruby Bridges, Claudette Colvin, Audrey Faye Hendricks, Anne Frank, Sylvia Mendez, Malala Yousafzai, Emma Gonzalez, Naomi Wadler. I could go on and on. And for me, 2 nights ago, it was Kanaya Vickers. Those young women who have the strength and courage to show us the way, who remind us what is right and what is wrong, who can see what we often become blind to or never wanted to see, who look ahead and ask us to join them because maybe we forgot we were going that way too. 2 nights ago, as I sat on the days at the Brighton Town Board meeting, as the only black woman, the only person of color amongst white men, I looked around me and I saw the faces of my town. The passion, the pain, the anger, the frustration, the expectation, and the need. I saw myself in the brave, young, impassioned girl who eloquently spoke truth to power in a room full of adults. And I remembered why I'm here. I saw that my town is in need of attention, that my town is hurting, and that no, the kids here aren't doing just fine. As the lone black woman and the lone person of color on the Brighton Town Board, I cannot, in good conscience, leave my position. I cannot, in good conscience, abandon Brighton in what may well be one of its most pointed times of need and racial discord. And so, with that said, I'm withdrawing from the race for New York State Assembly to focus on my responsibilities and love for my town. It is more important than ever that I remain committed to leading Brighton to a better future, where all community members feel welcomed and safe, to a future where I never again have to listen to a young woman recount the harm she suffers from racism at school, to a future where I never again have to sit on the days of elected officials on the Brighton Town Board as the only black woman or person of color. Thanks so much for coming out.
Robin, is the issue with Gwinnett, is that a contributing factor in your decision right now?
No, it was not.
When did you start thinking about dropping out of the race?
Like I said, 2 nights ago, it became concrete for me that I still had work left to do here.
So what do you hope to accomplish then? What do you want to specifically focus on and work on, you know, in your capacity as town board?
Inclusion, diversity, and equity within the town of Brighton.
So how do you go about doing that?
Well, we heard announced earlier today that The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity Advisory Committee has been constituted officially. We've extended invitations to the 17 applicants, and we hope to work with them and a consultant and implement a diversity action plan and improve on best practices within the town for diversity within the town of Bryson. And I just want to say too, one of the problems that I want to highlight is that the media stands here and tries to shame black women. That they hold black women to a different standard. That we are scrutinized unfairly. This campaign has done nothing wrong. Yet, the first question that I get at this news conference is that, you know, are you dropping out because of the revelations regarding your campaign manager? That's absurd. There are plenty of elected officials, and the officials themselves, not people associated with their campaign, but the officials themselves have been engaged in criminal behavior. And nobody wants to talk about the issues that we're trying to raise, the people's concerns that we're trying to raise in this race. People are wanting to talk about sensationalist nonsense when people are hurting. Any other questions?
Did the residency issue have any impact on the city decision as well?
No, it did not. But again, it's highlighting how much harder we have to fight for the same ballot access that should be available to anyone. It didn't play more of a part than racism in our society plays a part.
With that being said, though, don't you think the assembly seat running would give you even a bigger hand to impact more lives?
I couldn't address the issue specific to our town. The assembly district covers Brighton, parts of the city of Rochester, and Irondequoit. So, and I'm choosing to focus on Brighton. Any other questions? Thanks so much for coming out, folks.